As a lot of you know, I moved to India a few months ago, and putting like the cultural and language pieces aside, one of the biggest shifts of moving here for me has been now living in such a fast-paced city. Everything is go, go, go. That's good. It's good for what I came here to do, which is like acting and filmmaking, but I'm still looking for peace and quiet from time to time. So this past November, I took a trip to Rajasthan when my brother visited. For context, Rajasthan is a state kind of in the northern region of India. The town we visited is called Narlai. It's a remote village between Udaipur and Jaipur. I'd been to Rajasthan before when I was a kid with my family, but it was mostly to visit the larger cities. This trip made room for us having more bespoke experiences, like visiting this Kumbhalgarh fort, which is essentially India's Great Wall. Something that dawned on me while walking through this fort is how different it is to travel as an adult. Like a lot of my Indian American friends, trips to India as a kid mostly just consisted of visiting family you didn't know you had and eating a lot of mangoes. For me, it kind of felt like living a double life where I was too American to be Indian, but also too Indian to be American. On this trip, I realized how a lot of that existentialism has faded away over time. I was able to appreciate this corner of the world and how it relates to my identity without the need to contextualize it against all other parts of my identity. Okay, and so lame, but it made me think of Hitch, which is my all-time favorite rom-com. I've watched it at least 50 times. He says something to his date at Ellis Island where they're like going through the immigration artifacts. And I'm pretty sure it's a Maya Angelou quote. And he says something like, you can't really know where you're going until you know where you've been. And sitting there in Rajasthan, I'm like, hell yeah, that's me. That's Hitch is saying that to me right now. By the time we wrapped up at the fort, the sun was setting just in time for us to drive home and have these awesome views of the hillsides on our way to Narlai. When we got to the hotel, it was night out, so we couldn't really see the hotel, but in the morning we were blown away. We stayed at a heritage hotel, which basically means that they converted an old palace that used to belong to the royal family into a hotel. The views are stunning, the architecture is just absolutely insane, and there was just something kind of profound about walking the same halls and living in the same rooms as Indian royalty once did. It was beautiful. The people at the hotel did a wonderful job showing us different parts of Narlai. Part of that was this leopard safari that we did really early in the morning. Most of you are probably thinking that India is really hot and that you don't need a jacket. Unfortunately, I made this mistake as well, but it was freezing. It was probably 50 degrees outside, and we're in this open-air Jeep searching for leopards. It was meant to be a 1-hour safari, but these guys were really bummed for us that we didn't spot any leopards, so we drove around for 2 hours and still no luck. But I didn't mind. Honestly, these views were insane, and to have the sunrise lighting up the sky like that was just really, really beautiful. We ended the safari with chai and snacks and a last-minute chance to just take in the landscape around us. And then finally, for our last night, the hotel staff treated us like royalty at this stepwell dinner. It's a 16th century stepwell that they've lit with hundreds of candles, and then you get to eat this traditional Rajasthani food, listen to the traditional Rajasthani music. I mean, it was just absolutely unbelievable and like nothing I've ever experienced before. One thing that surprised me about this trip was how connected I felt to my Indian roots through it. I thought that living in Mumbai would make me feel the most Indian, if that makes sense. But when I got out of the fast pace and had the experiences that were so distant from my daily life, I felt more Indian in these few days than I felt my whole time living in Mumbai. I think it's because I felt proud to learn more about India's rich history and proud to see how far India has come, and even prouder to think about the small part that my family and ancestors have played in this nation's story. I don't know, it was just really cool, and I was thankful for the opportunity to spend that time in Rajasthan.